Welcome back to G Fun Facts Online, where we dive into the fascinating science of everyday life. Today we're talking about something that affects every single one of us: mental health. But here's the twist. What if I told you that your understanding of anxiety, depression, and even just stress is fundamentally different from your parents or your grandparents? Our idea of mental health isn't set in stone. It's a concept that twists and turns, shaped by the culture, the economy, and the technology of the times. From the stoicism of the baby boomers to the digital anxieties of Gen Z, let's take a journey through the psychology of generations to see how the world we grew up in literally shapes our minds. Let's start with the baby boomers, born between 1946 and 1964. They stepped into a world of post-war optimism, but were raised by the silent generation with a clear message: tough it out. Emotional struggles were often seen as a personal failing, something to be overcome with a stiff upper lip. Mental health was a taboo topic, hidden in the shadows. Think about the historical events they lived through. The Vietnam War, for instance, left deep scars. Many veterans returned with what we now call PTSD, but back then was often dismissed as battle fatigue. They were expected to just get over it. And while the 1960s counterculture opened new doors for self-expression, it also shook the foundations of society, leaving some feeling disillusioned. Add to that the immense pressure to achieve career success and material wealth, which led to high stress and burnout. Later in life, many became the original sandwich generation, squeezed between caring for their own kids and their aging parents. It's no wonder that many boomers remain skeptical of therapy, preferring to believe that you could just self-help your way out of any problem. Next up, we have Generation X, born from 1965 to 1980. Often called the latchkey kids, they grew up in the shadow of the boomers, frequently coming home from school to an empty house as divorce rates rose. This fostered a fierce independence and a healthy dose of skepticism that defines them. They witnessed incredible change: the fall of the Berlin Wall, the rise of the HIV/AIDS crisis, and the shift from an analog to a digital world with the first personal computers and video games. This made them independent thinkers who valued a good work-life balance. But that early independence had a psychological price. A lack of emotional support during those formative years could make it hard to ask for help later in life. While they were more open to therapy than their parents, that tough-it-out mentality still lingered. Gen X really embraced the self-help movement, a perfect fit for their individualistic spirit. And just like the boomers before them, many Gen Xers are now finding themselves in that sandwich generation squeeze, a stress that has only been amplified by the recent global pandemic. Now we enter the age of the millennials, born between 1981 and 1996. They were the pioneers of the digital world, the first generation to grow up with the internet and social media. This has been a game changer for mental health, in both good and bad ways. On one hand, they have endless information and connection at their fingertips. On the other, they face a relentless culture of comparison. Scrolling through perfectly curated social media feeds can breed feelings of inadequacy, anxiety, and depression. Economically, they've had a rough go. Many entered the job market during the 2008 Great Recession, saddled with student debt. This financial instability has led to them being called the most anxious generation. But here's the interesting part: the awareness paradox. Millennials are far more willing to discuss mental health and seek help, actively working to break the stigma. Yet, this very awareness can feel overwhelming, and they report incredibly high levels of stress that literally keep them up at night. Finally, we have Generation Z, the true digital natives, born from 1997 to 2012. They've never known a world without the internet. For them, a smartphone isn't a tool, it's an extension of themselves. This constant connectivity is a double-edged sword. It offers amazing support communities, but it also exposes them to cyberbullying and the crushing pressure to maintain a perfect online image. Statistically, Gen Z reports the highest levels of stress, anxiety, and depression of any generation. What's fueling this? academic pressure, financial worries, and a constant stream of bad news. A huge source of this anxiety is climate change. Global studies show a massive number of young people feel a deep sense of dread about the future of the planet, and this climate anxiety affects their daily lives. The pandemic also hit their formative years hard, increasing loneliness and disrupting their social development. But here's the hopeful part. Gen Z is leading a mental health revolution. They are the most open generation yet, using social media not just for socializing but for advocacy. They are sharing their struggles, demanding better resources, and fundamentally reshaping the entire conversation around mental well-being. So what does this journey through the generations tell us? There's a clear and powerful trend. With each new generation, the stigma around mental health fades a little more. The conversation gets louder and more honest. While every era brings its own unique challenges, from post-war trauma to climate anxiety, it also brings new forms of resilience and new ways to connect. Understanding the unique pressures that shaped your parents, or the digital world that defines your children, isn't about pointing fingers. It's about building empathy. It's about recognizing that we are all products of our time. By building these bridges of understanding, we can work together to create a more supportive and mentally healthier future for everyone, no matter when you were born. Thanks for tuning in to G Fun Facts Online.